Ladies and gentlemen, the world economy has changed, not gradually, but with a jolt we have all felt. The era of frictionless global openness that lifted economies and connected markets is giving way to something harder. A time when security, resiliency, and strategic autonomy are not optional. They are the foundations. It is in this context that I'm honored to open our 22nd FTTH Conference, and I can think of no better moment and no better community with whom to face this challenge. As in previous years, this event has gathered a very large number of professionals from European countries and from abroad. A powerful testimony to how vibrant and engaged this fiber community truly is. Looking back at the evolution of the European market, we have much to be satisfied about. Our main objectives, full coverage and full migration to fiber, are steadily progressing, even if the pace is uneven across member states. Notably, some countries have not only completed the coverage of their territory, but have also concluded the migration from copper to fiber. Spain and Norway stand out as leading examples. At the same time, there are countries where coverage remains incomplete and where fiber take-up is lagging behind, thereby generating returns on investment which are too low to convince investors to commit further capital. A strong acceleration in take-up is therefore essential to restore investor confidence in the profitability of fiber investment. The recent proposal of a Digital Networks Act, recognizing the centrality of full migration to fiber for the competitiveness and security of our economies, provides important regulatory support in this direction. We must bear in mind that the European objective to have fiber available everywhere is not solely about providing higher connectivity to end users. It is, above all, about building the digital backbone of a more competitive and resilient European economy. Fiber is the foundation for a large variety of digital services in our industries. It is what allows artificial intelligence to be deployed at scale. It is what enables energy grids to operate safely in a world of distributed green energy producers. And it is what will allow quantum technologies to deliver on their promise of enhanced security. These are the reasons why fiber is simultaneously a competitiveness asset and a security imperative. Zooming in what our industry is doing, we are working on the evolution of access technology towards 10 to 50 gigabit connections and on improving in-building and in-home connectivity through optical LANs and Wi-Fi, which will require the full 6 gigahertz bandwidth to be effective in supporting the distribution of higher access speeds. This cannot be seen as ancillary, since user experience heavily depends on the quality delivered at end-user devices. If we look at the edge of the network, in this conference you will find discussions on the evolution of data centers and how edge data centers are becoming part of a telecom operator's basic service offer. We will also examine how to guarantee resilient data center connections and interconnections. This is a necessary step forward, since taking applications and data closer to end users reduces latency, optimizes transport, and increases the overall quality delivered. And looking back at the overall picture, We have to understand how the convergence of cable networks towards full fiber networks, combined with the evolution of the broadcasting of audiovisual services, may reshape the way networks are used for content distribution. And most urgent of all, in our deeply unstable geopolitical situation, we are studying together how to improve the security and resiliency of our networks. This topic has gained centrality in our industry, and it requires high level of investment. Last year, we heard from our Ukrainian colleagues how difficult it is to maintain a secure and effective network in war conditions when your enemy bombs your infrastructure and then waits for the maintenance teams to arrive and repair it, only to fire on them again. The aim is to grind down the human capacity to keep the network operational. That image, technicians repairing fiber under fire, is not a metaphor. It is a reality that some of our colleagues live every single day. It reminds us that the infrastructure we build and defend is not abstract. It is the nervous system of a functioning society. Last year, we closed this conference with the wish for a reduction of political tensions in the world. Unfortunately, the world has moved in the opposite direction. This makes our role more important and more difficult. An unprecedented common understanding is emerging. The request of a unified European approach towards stronger cooperation is currently turning into an ever-increasing strategic necessity. Europe has been legislating at speed. First came the platform economy, the Digital Markets Act and the Digital Services Act. Then artificial intelligence, the AI Act. Now it is our turn. The Digital Networks Act and the Cybersecurity Act will dominate the regulatory agenda throughout 2026 and into 2027, to be followed by the Cloud and AI Development Act and the Digital Fairness Act. What is striking is the common thread running through all of them. Acts that began as competitiveness instruments have become tools of security and strategic autonomy. The Digital Networks Act updates the industry regulatory framework with a more coordinated approach to asymmetric regulation and spectrum allocation. Crucially, it recognizes fiber as essential for both European competitiveness and European security, introducing an obligation to organize a full migration from copper to fiber by 2035. It is a much welcomed provision, which can guarantee better returns on fiber investments and accelerate the completion of European coverage. The Cybersecurity Act presents a vision for how to achieve strategic autonomy by excluding high-risk vendors from the market. It is a significant departure from past behavior. Since Europe had always been keen to maintain openness to innovation from abroad, it is therefore genuinely unfortunate to discover that in our times, openness has brought potential vulnerabilities, requiring a paradigm shift towards strategic autonomy. In this field, our industry needs to cooperate with institutions to strike the right balance between the necessity to continue investing and the necessity to increase the security and resilience of our networks. It is, however, important to bear in mind that the cost of security and resiliency cannot be borne only by the industry. Public funds are necessary, in particular if companies have to replace assets which are currently operational. We opened this morning by speaking of a world under stress. We will close this conference, I hope, with a clearer map of how our community can respond, not just as business pursuing returns, but as builders of the infrastructure on which European security and prosperity depend. Our community, beyond the business purposes of each of the companies we represent, carries an overall responsibility to make European connectivity effective in granting competitiveness and in expanding its usage to a large variety of industries, while becoming more secure and more resilient. That is a serious responsibility, and this is exactly the right room to carry it. Thank you.